Right, Ugly Duckling project part number 2. Please excuse the mess. So the situation is the paint on the frame has been chemically stripped. The rear subframe has been modified and welded. I do need to tidy that welding up a little bit, but basically what I have done is, where is the scrap bit? This was originally at that angle sitting in there, and this was on the end of that, and it came out to about here. So what I've done is this piece has been cut off, that bit has been removed. I have flipped this upside down and kept it at a continuation of this angle, which is going to give it that Street Fighter look. However, it's created a bit of a headache with regards to seat fitment, etc. The seat I have roughed down, and I have removed a rather large amount of it, and I will give you an idea of how that is going to fit on. Go on, you bugger. Right, there we go. Now, what I plan to do here is, where you've got the bolt hole that goes through this, obviously this needs tidying up, and it's going to have some 1.6mm veg tan put over the top with a light brown colour. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and find a way of recessing these holes and put in a, where you've got that fixed bolt in there, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drill out this and the clip here, so that's floating. I will then put one of those washers with the little tabs on that bite. I'm going to slide one of those on and have a bolt coming all the way through here, and I'm going to weld onto here a small piece of threaded tube, so the seat will then screw down onto that, and it will be fairly well held in place by this. It might be a bit fiddly, but it's not something I'm going to take on and off all the time. I need to fabricate a battery box out of stainless steel, so the battery is going to sit up in there, or at least at the minute that's the plan, which may change, who knows. As far as the air filter goes, there is this, I got this, I don't know, it's a copy, but it was, I can't afford it or couldn't afford it. It was a good job I didn't buy a real one anyway. HKS Mushroom, and it is too big for the idea, so I'm going to get a 150mm one, and that is going to sit in there, which will be behind the fairing, and I will make a stainless shield that will come round here and protect it from anything flying up from the back. The shock is going to be replaced with a Hogan. It's going to be adjustable. It won't be full adjustable. This, as you can see, this one is completely knackered, and this is what made me take the bike apart in the first place. I hit a rather large bump. This didn't compress, and it nearly buckarooed me over the bars. I've not done anything with the head as of yet. I have the parts to rebuild the fork, including the oil. What I'm going to do is, for now, I'm not going to get the progressive springs. I'm going to put the standard springs back in, but with obviously fresh oil. Be much better and nice with the new oil in. I found this for £2 in Tesco's, which is going to give me a relatively accurate way of measuring the fork oil per leg. I was going to put a heavier weight in, but I'm just going to stick with 10 weight, and I'm going to slightly increase the volume to give a more progressive feel. What else have we got? Yep, front wheel now has spoke wraps on it and is just waiting wheel bearings and a bit of a clean up. The rear wheel, I spent a hell of a lot of time prepping and getting ready for this paint. Painted it as properly as I could, and got the tyre refitted, and whatever the chemical it is that they used to clean the soap off has melted straight into this enamel paint. Now this paint was out of a rattle can, but it did come from Halfords, and it was their more expensive stuff, so this shouldn't have happened. I'm not going to repaint it. It will just stay as it is. We have a wavy disc with some titanium bolts holding it on, because the original ones were mega corroded and these were dirt cheap. Yes, I know they're green, but tough. Bearings have been replaced. Now I wanted to get that on video, but I couldn't. My brother was here and we were doing it in bits and bats as I could. In the end, what we had to do was we had to use expanding bolts and tighten up the expanding bolts, and yes, it looks rough, but it is out of a flux core MIG. Then we had to weld the expanding bolt to the bearing and drift it out from the other side, and it worked a treat. And it was the only way we were going to get those bearings out. So that's that. The carrier, I know it's just a standard steel disc. It's 43 tooth, so I have altered the gearing slightly. I'm really happy with the 43 tooth. Got some nice new big chunky stainless bolts holding it on there. It gives it a really industrial look. The chemical etch that I've done on the sprocket is just done with gum blue, which is an effect I quite regularly do on my knife blades, and it looks pretty damn cool. I'm quite impressed with that. Right, the rear caliper, just like my Siggy. The rear caliper and the front caliper were painted with high temp orange. However, I did buy this very cheap off eBay, and this paint, the second anything touches it, cleaner wise, unfortunately it's taken the paint off, so I'm now in two minds as to whether to strip it all off and start again, because I don't really want to put it all on the bike, then go to clean everything up and it all bloody run off. But we'll cross that bridge as and when. The seals have been replaced in both, and the pistons weren't in too bad a condition. There was some small pitting on it, however the pitting was much smaller than the width of the seals, so I'm hoping that it should be okay. I have seen much worse be built and work fine. Using my buffing wheel, I've managed to polish up the carriers and made quite a good job of it. It didn't take too long, was quite easy to do. The nipples were horrendously corroded, so they now have some titanium ones which I've heat anodized just for the crack. As you do. You see there as well. And polished the carrier up quite nicely. This is going to get painted. I'm not sure what colour yet. The front EBC pads were going to be replaced. The rear pads, which I've recently bought, were dirt cheap and they are utter shit. So they will be getting replaced with EBC as well, so I'll have a brand new brake system. Got some interesting developments with the exhaust. I wanted to get all this on video, but I couldn't because, you know, my brother was here and we did it in bits and bats. Now I wanted to go for a rat look. That was an original one, that nasty caliper paint. So obviously that's been shortened quite substantially. It was fairly tricky to do because it was tapered on the inside. So what I had to do is I had to cut a piece off. I had to open up the perforated tube and slide it over the end cap, and luckily I now have my TIG welder working. Oh yes, managed to weld it and make it work. So we put the can back together, and I decided, because I used to be pretty good at TIG welding, I decided to have a go at welding the top, the end cap on. Made an absolute mess of it because I forgot the technique for welding thick stuff onto thin stuff is you start the pool high, drop it down, high, drop it down, high. Well, I forgot that and I tried to just run around it and just burnt loads of holes in it. But anyway, I realised afterwards what I'd done, so next time it'll work okay. But yeah, we polished the straps, put the straps back on, and polished the end cap. But yes, I missed a bit. But before we did that, again wanting to go for the rat look, I put the can into my forge, and as you can see, I've done like a blue flame-esque heat colouring on it, and it looks well cool. You couldn't have got it to look more rat if you tried. So I am actually over the moon with how this turned out. Very, very cool looking can. And again, the next time I do a process like this, from now on I will get it on camera, but I done it while I was feeling quite unwell, and had a lot of help from my brother. Right, what else have we got? Levers. On the front brake, I'm not sure, I think I've showed you this before, but I have a GSXR 750 lever with a quite expensive billet lever that I won on eBay for £18. The reason being is I think it had probably come off a stolen bike, which, you know, a breaker had probably bought from an auction, but somebody had tried to badly spray the bike with a rattle can, and this was covered in overspray. So I got it for it. It's quite an expensive lever. You're pushing 100 quid's worth of lever apparently. But yeah, all I did was bought it and I stripped it down into its individual components and cleaned the paint off, and hey presto. I do still need to replace the seal and the spring on the master cylinder, but that'll be a fairly straightforward job. The clutch and rear lever, I did have an issue that because it was originally designed to go onto a clip-on, what I found that when it was on the bars, it was way too long and it would stick over the end, and it would also hinder me putting guards on. So I gave Keith a call, a K-lever, and asked whether they made a shorter lever. And this is over at Clicktronics. Got to give Keith a shout and a thank you. I said to him the other day, Keith, I need a shorter lever, and I explained why, and he said, we do want 30mm shorter. And I said, oh, fantastic. And I knew they're expensive. They're very, very expensive. I said to him, you know, waiting for it, sat down, how much is a new lever going to be? And he said, well, I'll just do you 1 for 1, and you just send me yours back. Just send me yours back, and I'll just swap it over for you. But I said to him, unfortunately, I can't do that, Keith, because I'd rode it all over winter. And I don't know if you're going to make it out. See if we can zoom. Come on, focus. Those little black dots are actually pitting from salt corrosion. So I said to him, it's not in a swappable state. And he said, hang on, give me 5 minutes. Well, anyway, he comes back and he says, would you mind if it was used? And I said, well, absolutely not at all, because it's going on to a used lever, and I'm not building a show bike, I'm building a fast bike. So he said, well, because I owed him some pictures of this on the bike anyway, so I said, well, I'll send you the pictures. And he said, add your address on it. Well, 17 hours later, for free, I have a 30mm shorter lever, which I stuck on earlier. And as you can see, it's a huge difference, and for me that is now a perfect setup. Over the moon. I do need to get a better reservoir, because that was $3.99 and it leaks like a bastard everywhere, but again, that can be done another time. There's the bare swing arm. I've had trouble finding a better aftermarket chain guard or chain guide. It's the same fitment as a Transall, and a couple of other, an SLR. What else? What was the other one? I can't remember what the other one is. Anyway, yeah, so there is very, very limited options as far as a new chain guide goes, so I'll just have to play that by ear. I do still need to find the bearings. Nobody does a bearing kit for it, with it being an oddball bike. However, I'm pretty sure the linkage is going to be the same as what's on probably the Transalp. So I'm going to give, I can't remember what the company name is, they do kits for pretty much every bike, off-road bike. I'm going to give them a call and ask if they can cross-reference and see whether I can get a kit from them. That with the kit, which is everything swing arm linkages, the kit is, what is it? It's about 60 quid, but for me to get all the bearings individually, it's going to cost well more than double that. So I'm hoping be able to do that. Oh yeah, the other thing, we'll get into the engine. I know the video's getting quite long. Congratulations if you're still watching. In fact, give us a shout if you're still watching. Haha. Engine. I am going to, bear in mind, this is going to take me a long time, but even if it takes me till winter, I'm going to build the bike I want rather than build the bike I wish I, you know what I mean. Engine is going to get painted. I think I've said that before. It is going to get a stage 1 cam. It is going to get upgraded springs, upgraded valves. It is going to get a 10.5 to 1 high compression piston. It is going to get a forged racing conrod. And we are going to try to get 50 ponies out of this engine. I'm currently bidding on a flat side carb, but my bid's very low and I know what's going to happen. I'm not going to get it, but at some point, if fate allows, I'll get a 41mm flat side carb. Otherwise, my carb has been, which is probably what's going to go on, my carb's been rejetted and works quite sufficiently for the time being, and I've replaced everything with stainless. All the bolts are stainless. Every bolt on the bike's going to get replaced. Whoa! Every bolt on the bike's going to get replaced with stainless. Every bolt, all the engine bolts, everything. The other interesting factor is going to be the oil cooler. Honda's idea of an oil cooler, wherever I've thrown it, is just a metal tube. So what I'm going to do is fabricate an oil cooler there. But anyway, we'll talk about that later. So, right, catch you later.